How to Buy Happiness by Pirat. Part 2. Understand your programming. Happiness is attractive. You are allowed to be happy. You are allowed to admit and say that you are happy. You are allowed to express your happiness. What is human programming? Why do you do what you do in your daily life? Most people never even think about it. Maybe you have never thought about it either. You wake up in the morning and start doing stuff. You do all kinds of stuff all day and then go to sleep. Next morning, you wake up and start doing stuff again. Most people do mostly the same stuff over and over every day. It is mass social behavior. Some people have more variety in the stuff they do. It is individualistic behavior. Have you ever asked, why do I do what I do? Think about it for a moment right now. If this is your first time asking this question and thinking about it, your answer might be, I don't know. There are also people who have asked this question multiple times for many years, and their answer is still, I don't know. You might answer, this is what people are supposed to be doing. This is what everyone is doing. You might be thinking that this is what you were taught and have learned to do. Here's the answer. All the things you do in your daily life are based on your programming. While the term programming is usually used for computers and technology, I am using the same term for people. It has also become more common to use it for people because it is a similar process. In technology, it basically means telling the computer systems which tasks to perform to solve a problem or perform needed tasks. Humans have created instructions for the computer to follow. People are also programmed in the same way by other people on what to do, how to behave, and what to think. Now we even have artificial intelligence programming humans' thoughts and behavior. What is your programming? Your programming is all the information, beliefs, behavior, and thoughts that you have acquired at this point in your life. All the things that you have done and are doing in your everyday life are based on your programming. If you don't have any self programming, then you just function as society's robot. You don't control your mind. Your mind, thinking, beliefs, and behavior are controlled by the local social system. If you are not aware of yourself, then you just live through life doing what you were programmed to do, like everyone else in your culture. You don't really have your own thoughts. Your thoughts are programmed into you by other people. You're basically just functioning like a robot. Your thoughts are a combination of other people's thoughts. Your life is lived by following the social behaviors, norms, and beliefs of your cultural surroundings without any questioning. You exist like a robot by mirroring your environmental and cultural surroundings. Robotic existence comes from a lack of self awareness and absence of self programming. That is the reason why so many philosophers point out the importance of self awareness. Right now, most people's functioning is based on simulated social responses. It is just a pattern matching, response generating existence based on what they have heard and seen. Humans process inputs and generate outputs based on the rules, data, and experiences they receive. It is their programming. This is the case for most people because they were taught what to think and learn their behavior by observing and mirroring the system they live in. A lot of humans are not taught at all. They have primitive existing and functioning skills that they have developed by observing, listening, and replicating. Some of those people don't even think at all. They just have sentences wandering around in their brains without conscious direction. There's another group of people who are luckier because they have learned how to think. If you're taught or self learned how to think, you are more self aware. You can have your own thoughts, make your own decisions, and develop your own personal beliefs. You can choose your beliefs, thoughts, and behavior. And you also have the ability to change your beliefs, thoughts, and behavior. You have the ability to change your programming. More people are becoming self aware now that we are starting to have more knowledge about it. Some people have been more self aware from their early development. What is self awareness? It is the ability to understand and observe yourself, recognizing the things that make you who you are as an individual, not just how you look on the outside, but also who you are in your mind. Observing what you think and feel makes you understand better why you behave the way you do. This will help you know what causes your actions and reactions. Basically, it is knowing why you do all that stuff in your daily life. The development of your programming. When does your programming start? Well, it started when the universe started. But to keep it simple for this book, I'm going to focus on just your personal programming. Before you are born, you are already being programmed with genetics from your parents and grandparents. The next step of programming also takes place before birth and happens when you are in your mother's belly. Your mother's emotions and environment are already programming you. After you are born, the main programming starts. Your caretakers will start programming you from the moment of your first breath. They will program you based on their own programming. Your first programming depends on who took care of you after you were born. For most people, those are their biological parents. But for some, they are, for example, grandparents or adoptive parents. You develop your first behavior, thoughts, and beliefs based on your caretaker's beliefs, behavior, thoughts, and environment. Too many people still believe and think that babies don't remember or understand anything. It has been proven so many times that this is not true. We all remember everything even before birth, when we are still in our mother's belly. It is just not in our conscious memory. It is in our subconscious memory. And your subconscious memory often overrides your conscious decisions and behaviors. A lot of our decisions, automatic thinking, and behavior come from programming that we don't remember or acknowledge consciously. So, it is important to know that our babies remember right away. The more positive memories a baby receives, the more positive their view of life will be as an adult. It is important to know that your subconscious remembers everything since you were a baby. A lot of decisions that you make in your everyday life are based on subconscious memories from when you were a baby and from your early childhood. The next part of the programming are what creates the life that most people are living. And even if you develop further from this is the basis of everyone's development. It is your environmental, cultural, and social programming, created by the people around you, the system you live in, and your own experiences. This is also where the majority of people's programming development stops. This is how we have mass behavior. Because most people are programmed to develop only to the point of being local social system robots. Now, the last step of programming is the most important one. The highest step of human programming is the development of the ability for self programming, the same as in computers with AI deep learning. This is the step where people become aware that they have choices in what to think, what to believe, and how to behave, where they can develop further from an automatic existence. People who learn the ability to self program can think their own thoughts instead of just rotating other people's words in their head and just mirroring the surrounding behavior. They can monitor their thoughts and knowingly separate automatic thoughts, thoughts implanted from outside sources, and their own authentic thoughts. Self programmed people are self aware, ask more questions, and have a better ability to self learn. So, the usual human programming development steps are genetic programming, programming from caretakers, environmental programming, cultural programming, social system programming, programming from life experiences, and self programming. If your programming was positive, you are probably living a good, content, or happy life. You can be happy even without self programming. If you're not living a happy life, then you can now start developing your self programming ability and learn to change your automatic life. You can now learn how to think. Self programming. Self programming is the most important part of your development as a human. It should be the most important part of everyone's development. It is a skill that parents and schools should teach kids, but people without this ability can't teach it. Right now, in 2025, most people have minimal self programming. They are functioning from the programming that they have received. Most of their behavior and thoughts are programmed into them by outside influences. Their thoughts, behavior, and beliefs are just mirroring the surrounding behavior and beliefs. Self programming starts from the realization and acknowledgement of your programming. You might have already had this realization. If not, then you can simply have it now. Self programming is consciously learning to form your own personal thoughts. People hear thoughts in their head all the time. It is automatic thinking. Words that were programmed into you just rotating in your mind without control. It is often called brain chatter. With self programming, you will be in control of your thoughts and able to recognize and separate your own thoughts from programmed ones. When you advance, you can even understand from where or whom the other thoughts were implanted. Is your inner chatter monologue or dialogue? Pause and listen to the thoughts in your head. Next, understand and acknowledge that you have a choice in what to think, how to behave, and what to believe. Some readers will think, I am already choosing what I think, how I behave, what I feel, and what I believe. Do you? What has influenced you to think, behave, feel, and believe the way you do now. Are you just doing what everyone around you is doing? Are you just repeating the words that everyone is repeating? Are you just automatically existing? Right now, most humans don't think their own thoughts. They live their life based on what they have been programmed to think and do. People are becoming more aware of the importance of self programming. They are starting to realize that they have been programmed and are living in a system. In the future, self programming will be the most important part of everyone's development. I have been a self thinker, self learner, and self programmer since an early age. Of course, I had all the other programming steps too. We all do. It is something we can't avoid. A lot of it is just basic knowledge we all need to exist. So, why do we need self programming? We don't need it. We can exist and die without self programming. Most people do. That is that it is all that there is life. With self programming, you can create a happier and more meaningful life. This would be the wait, but there is more life. Since I was little, I have read a lot and wide variety of books, and I have always loved to think. I did a lot of autodidactic education outside of the school program. I have continued autodidactic learning throughout my life. I will keep on developing my self thinking and self programming skills. One of the well known beliefs that I agree with is that there is always something more we can learn. A lot of people read a lot, but just reading a lot doesn't make you a self thinker. It depends on what the variety of information you read. To form your own thoughts, you have to have a wide variety of knowledge. You will also need a variety of real life experiences. Then you can analyze and compare information to form your own opinions. Many people read a lot and then just repeat what they read without even understanding any of it. Most people don't think. They form thoughts based on the input of the programming they have received. They live their life automatically based on what they have been told to think. You need to know that self programming is autodidactic learning. In simple language, it is self learning. But it is not just about reading and studying. You don't just consume the words that you read or hear. You process words by analyzing them and comparing them to a variety of other information. Then you make your own conclusions and decide what you let become part of your thinking and belief system. After practicing self programming, you will have a better ability to recognize false information by using better logic. So many social thoughts are just repeated old thoughts heard from generation to generation. But here's the thing, not all those thoughts are true. Social thoughts are just formed public opinions. They have formed and changed throughout time, and they will continue to change. Some of them were never true. Some of them were intentionally created to modify behavior of people. Some of them changed because of new inventions and knowledge. Everyone knows at least some old information that was later recognized to be false in general and also in our personal life. Someone said, money can't buy happiness. We don't even know who first said it or why, but someone else repeated it. And then it became a sentence that was repeated a lot. It became a commonly repeated sentence. and then turned into a common belief. A lot of people have lived their whole life repeating that thought in their head. They have said it to their kids and that way programmed their children to believe that sentence. People are saying it to each other. Every day, someone in the world is saying it. It is a simple, common phrase. They have never paused to actually think. Is it true? Why do I say it? Why is everyone saying it? I paused, thought about it, researched it, and made my own conclusions. When you stop saying it and remove it from your belief system, you can start buying happiness. Self thinking and self programming people have changed and keep on changing the world. They question common beliefs, run social thoughts through personal investigation and experiments, and then make a decision and conclusion of their own. If they come to a decision that some social belief is not the truth, despite it being common belief, they will start talking about it. Other people will again share the words, and it will change humans' perception of reality about that old belief. Without these kinds of thinkers, we would still be scared of walking too far because of the fear of falling off the edge of the earth. We would not have inventions. Not just that we would not have cars, trains, airplanes, and boats, we would not even have put the carriage behind the horse. We wouldn't even have climbed onto a horse and learned to ride it. Self programming is not just about changing the world, it is about changing your own everyday life, creating your happy life. This is why self programming is so important. If you are not aware of your programming and at least partially in control of it, then you will live your life robotically. As I wrote before, if you were programmed to live a good life, then it is kind of okay. Self programming can still make it even better. If you were not programmed for a good life, you can self program to live a good life. As an example, our topic, happiness. You don't just repeat what you have heard and what everyone else is saying about how to be happy. You become able to observe yourself and find out what makes you happy. Most people will continue living as robots for a longer time, but since you're reading this book, you're becoming more self aware. You have more choices about how to live your life. Individualism is on the rise. The real robots and other forms of AI are going to do the robotic work needed for the systems, and humans can develop a more humane and happy life for themselves. Programming from caregivers. What are the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that were taught to you by your parents or by the people who raised you as a child? Maybe you were taught some or all of those beliefs and behaviors. We eat unhealthy food, drink soda, smoke, take drugs, yell at each other, we say mean things to each other, hit, steal, and lie. We hate the neighbors, hate the government, and hate our job. We are sad that the world is such a bad place and there is nothing we can do about it. We are scared of reaching our goals and we don't like broccoli. Or maybe you were raised with thoughts and behavior like this. We like and eat healthy food, we like to exercise, we don't smoke, don't drink alcohol, and don't do drugs. We're all polite, we get along and love our family and friends. We like going on family vacations and volunteering. We don't like violence. We like to learn and to have and accomplish goals. We support each other. We believe that making that change is up to us. All those basic things in our life are first based on what our caretakers taught us. If we were taught the positive things, then we are off to a good start. If we were raised with negative beliefs, our whole life might be miserable. Unless we acknowledge that all of that is just our basic programming and that we have a choice to change it. This programming from our caregivers is automatic. Most people never think about it and live through their lives without ever acknowledging that this is just their basic programming. They have labeled it with the phrase, "This is just the way I am." Most people never give it any thought and just live like this until they die. And they will teach all the same to their children. That is a robotic mass existence without self programming. If that programming is positive, then the person will live a good and content life. Unfortunately, too many people have been raised with negative programming. Fortunately, you can change your programming. Everything that is programmed into you, you can reprogram. Now, when you are aware of it and you know that this is not just the way I am, you have the choice to change. Your environmental programming. This is the programming we receive from our surroundings, starting with our home, neighborhood, and country. This is also where a lot of financial programming happens. If someone was raised in a poor household and neighborhood, they most likely view life and the world from the point of view of lacking money. And if a person grew up in a financially well off family and neighborhood, they're programmed to think abundantly about money. People who grow up in a poor environment are usually uncomfortable and resentful in a rich environment. They have a feeling of not belonging there. In the same way, people with rich upbringing feel uncomfortable in and judgmental about poor neighborhoods. Your environmental programming is a stage where your habits develop. For example, your money managing and spending habits, cleanliness, eating, and general lifestyle. In this stage of programming, you receive your religious beliefs, traditions, and basic knowledge about life. Your life goals develop based on the standard systems of your environment. Your environment directs your education and career choices. Your general knowledge is programmed into you by the environment you grow up in. Self programmed people are able to decide to do something different from their environmental norms. Some people choose to change their environment, and with that, they receive new programming from the new environment. Changes in environmental programming also happen from life experience programming. And of course, you can change all received programming with self programming. When you acknowledge the programming and make a choice about what you want to keep and what you want to change. Your cultural programming. Your environment is also the culture of the country you grow up in. Most people who exist automatically never think about this either. They exist by following and mirroring what everyone else is doing. But in every country and even every city, people think, behave, and even react differently. There are so many different systems, laws, traditions, habits, beliefs, expectations, and so on. Your way of life and your beliefs are based on the cultural norms of your country. They are not universal. That is why it is important to acknowledge that a big part of your personality, the way you think, behave, and exist, is programmed into you by the culture of the country you live in. This programming is the most important to understand and acknowledge. It has the biggest influence on your life and is the reason for your robotic existence. It is very important to acknowledge how much of your life is based on and created by the rules and traditions of the country you were born and are living in. And again, people who don't acknowledge and aren't conscious of this will exist dramatically throughout their lives. They just follow the programming and mirror the surroundings by doing what everyone else is doing. This is your robotic existence in a country system you live in. To some extent, systems are needed, but it is important to be aware of them to avoid of being exploited. Most people follow the norms and rules of the systems in a country they live in without giving it any thought. And a lot of people are even afraid of doing anything different from the common standard. Yes, we do have to follow the main rules, but we have to do it knowingly, not blindly. We have to have great morals and logic. It becomes problematic when the system causes you to have a negative life experience and abuses you. There are a lot of countries right now where the citizens' well being is not a priority for the rulers and social programmers. Unfortunately, currently many cultural systems are programming us to just exist until we die. Instead, we need new knowledge and to change the systems to focus on making us positively experience and enjoy our life. We need new systems that focus on well being. This is again where your self programming becomes important. You have to acknowledge now that the majority of your thinking, behaving, and reacting is based on your cultural programming. I will give you some very simple examples of everyday things that are based on this. To start with, it is what you eat. Your food choices and eating habits mirror the food traditions of your country. Every country has different foods and eating habits. What kind of food do you eat? And what are your portion size? What are your traditional meals? What is considered celebration food? What do you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? If you lived in a different country, you would be eating and liking different food because you're programmed to eat that food. In reality, there are so many choices on what and how to eat. Your religious beliefs are based on what country you were born in and live in. There are so many different religions all over the world. Some countries don't have religions, they have belief systems. For example, one of the most popular misunderstandings is that Buddhism is a religion, but actually it is not. It is a belief system. There is a difference. Religion has rules and traditions people have to follow. A belief system provides guidance for a way to live. Programming from your religion or belief system is very directly connected to your happiness. Your religion's views on happiness are creating your beliefs about happiness. How is happiness valued in your religion? Does your religion teach how to create happiness for yourself and for the world? It is important to be aware that your religion was programmed into you. It is not good to be an unaware blind believer. You have to observe and think whether your belief is positively affecting and guiding you. And so many little everyday things that you don't even think about come from your cultural programming. How you dress, what job you choose, how you pursue your education, what you do with your leisure time, what you buy, what kind of music you listen to, and what political rules you follow. Also, your general knowledge about everything, your understanding about violence and abuse, and your values and morals are created by it. Most people follow their cultural programming without any thought. Your way and your country's way are not universal. You have to become aware of this, and from here you can self program. Keep the good habits and traditions and get rid of the bad ones. Programming from life experiences. This programming happens simultaneously with all the other programming stages. Our experiences teach us cause and effect. Things that we do create the reaction. We store the experiences in our subconscious and then assume that certain actions always create the same reaction. In some situations, this is true, but we have all experienced that it is not always true. So many times we assume from previous experience that the consequence of our action will be, but instead we get a different new outcome. This programming is also a reason why we behave mostly the same way in certain situations. When we do it automatically, it might not be the correct reaction for that new moment. With self programming, we can learn to adjust our reactions when needed. In this stage of programming, we learn most of what to do and what not to do in our personal existence. Programming from life experiences is always leading our daily behavior. It is very subconscious and automatic. It is that touch the hot stove once and for the rest of your life you try to avoid touching the hot stove programming. While most life experience programming is valuable and important, we have to acknowledge that sometimes it is false. As I already mentioned, in some situations, the same action can create different reactions and outcomes. Circumstances are never exactly the same as they were the last time, but we are not aware of it. We also have to be aware of the life experience programming that has been wrong from the start. This is, for example, a situation where two events happened relatively close to each other, so you associate them as a cause and effect. In reality, they were completely unrelated. They were absolutely unrelated events happening close to each other. But you created the connection in your mind. This wrong connection can cause wrong decisions in that moment or in the future. Most importantly, our life experience programming creates our emotional life. From our life experiences, we create our database of emotions and emotional reactions. Experiences that we have make us feel emotions. Those emotions get stored in the subconscious and conscious mind and also in the body. And for the rest of our lives, our emotions get triggered at similar situations. They create our reaction to be careful of the hot stove and stay away from possible danger. They also make us reach for that donut or give a hug to a friend. If you have a lot of happy experiences, then you have a large storage of positive emotions. Life experience programming is where we have to be very self aware. This is the stage where self programming makes a big difference. Most people probably understand that our past experiences influence our current choices every day. When we have a negative experience, we can become afraid of it might repeat itself. It is important to acknowledge and analyze the experiences. For some things, we have to believe that the experience can repeat itself to prevent us from making the same mistake again. It is important to understand what the wrong decisions were and what red flags were not noticed. But we have to understand that when we know better, we can do better. We can't assume that the experience will repeat itself. It is important to learn from experiences and make changes to our thinking and behavior. When we are able to make better decisions, that will lead to positive new outcomes. The most important thing about your programming is simply to be aware of it and not to let it always control you automatically, especially if the automatic behavior is negative and not positively beneficial. The reason I included this part about your programming in the book is because your ability to be happy is based on your programming. The reason for you being happy or unhappy is simply based on your programming. Without self programming, people are just happy, sad, angry, or scared robots. I know that humans are not really robots, but we live in a systems right now where humans are programmed to behave like robots. But with technological development, robots can take over the robotic tasks for the system and humans can learn to be humans again. And to make sure we will do it right, we have to do positive programming. Happy people create happy new systems and happy programming for current and future generations. When you become happy, then you automatically create more happiness in the whole world. First, acknowledge and understand your programming. Second, take control by learning to self program. Hi, you are just listening to part 2 of my book, How to Buy Happiness. Next, please go to my channel, find the playlist How to Buy Happiness, and listen to all parts of the book. You can also buy the physical book from Amazon by scanning the QR code on the screen. As you probably already understood from my accent, English is not my native language. But don't worry, the book is edited by a professional editor. But there is some neurolinguistical language in it. That means some of the things are not written in a traditional way. I am Pirat. Besides being an author, I'm a mental health advocate, personal coach, and happiness expert. My goal is to help you have the best life experience, even in challenging times. So, subscribe to my channel and share it with your family and friends. If you are someone who wants to understand life better and live happier, this channel is for you. Smile, enjoy the book, and start consciously buying happiness. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will answer them.